The acrid smell of cheap intoxicants and desperation clung to every surface of the dingy bar. I nursed my drink, some noxious concoction that passed for alcohol on this backwater space station. My 4 eyes scanned the room constantly, a habit I'd developed over cycles of running. The door creaked open, letting in a sliver of harsh artificial light from the station's corridors. A figure slipped in, hunched and twitchy. Even in the dim light, I could see the telltale signs, the nervous glances, the way they hugged the walls. Another fugitive, fresh on the run. I watched as they made their way to the bar, ordered something strong, and nearly spilled it as they brought it to a table in the corner. Amateur. With a sigh that came from the depths of my weary soul, I stood up. My joints creaked in protest. I wasn't as young as when I'd started this endless marathon. I shuffled over to the newcomer's table. "Mind if I join you?" I asked, not waiting for an answer before I sat down. The newcomer's head snapped up, all 6 eyes wide with alarm. I wasn't. I held up a hand to cut off the stammering. "Relax, friend. I'm not here to cause trouble. Just thought you could use some company." I leaned in closer, lowering my voice. "And maybe some advice." The alien is Zentaran, I realized, noting the distinctive ridge patterns on their carapace seemed to deflate slightly. Is it that obvious? I chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. Only to those who know what to look for. And trust me, I know. I took a long sip of my drink, grimacing at the taste. "How long you been running?" The Zentaran's lower eyes darted around nervously, while the upper pair remained fixed on me. 3 rotations, they whispered. I couldn't help but laugh. 3 rotations? Oh, you poor, innocent soul. You're just a hatchling in this game. The Zentaran's voice was a mix of confusion and indignation. This is no game. The bounty hunters are relentless? Everywhere. Always 1 step behind, I finished for them. Let me guess you've had a few close calls already. Thought you were done for, but managed to slip away at the last moment. The Zentaran nodded, antennae twitching in agitation. I leaned back in my chair, regarding my new companion with a mixture of pity and amusement. "Well, my friend, let me tell you something about those close calls. About the hunters that seem to be everywhere and nowhere." I paused for effect, making sure I had the Zentaran's full attention. "They're playing with you, especially if they're human." The Zentaran's exoskeleton paled visibly. Humans. But why? I smiled grimly. "Because, my naive friend, humans like it when we run." The Zentaran's antennae drooped in confusion. "What do you mean, they like it when we run?" I signaled the bartender for another round before settling in. This was going to take a while. "Listen closely, because this might save your carapace one day," I began, leaning forward. "Humans aren't like the other species in the Galactic Union. While most integrated smoothly, humans, well, they brought something primal with them into the stars." The drinks arrived, and I took a long swig before continuing. "You see, on their homeworld, humans were persistence hunters. They'd chase prey for days, wearing them down until they collapsed from exhaustion. And now they've turned the galaxy into their hunting ground." The Zentaran's eyes widened in horror. "But surely the Union regulations." I cut them off with a bitter laugh. "Regulations? Please. Humans found a loophole. They're not breaking any laws if their quarry escapes now and then." "Escapes?" the Zentaran echoed, confusion evident in their voice. "Exactly," I nodded. "Have you ever wondered why you've had so many close calls, yet you're still breathing? It's because they let you go." I could see the realization dawning in the Zentaran's eyes. "But why?" "For the thrill of the hunt," I explained, my voice heavy with resignation. "Humans have turned bounty hunting into a sport. They enjoy the chase more than the capture. It's not about the money for them, it's about the rush." I launched into a story about my closest call, a heart-pounding chase through the neon-lit underbelly of Nexus Prime. I described the human hunter's predatory grin as they cornered me, the glint in their eyes as they savored the moment. And then the deliberate mistake that allowed me to slip away. I've lost count of how many times this has happened, I concluded. Different humans, different planets, but always the same game. They're toying with us, letting us think we've outsmarted them, only to pick up the trail again when they get bored. The Zentaran looked sick. So there's no escape? I shrugged. Oh, there's escape. They give us that regularly. But freedom? True freedom? That's another story entirely. What can we do? The desperation in the Zentaran's voice was palpable. I drained the last of my drink, feeling the familiar burn. We keep running, because that's what they want. And in this galaxy, what humans want, humans get. The weight of my words hung heavy in the air between us. The Zentaran's antennae drooped further, the reality of their situation sinking in. But remember, I added, a grim smile playing on my mandibles, as long as you're running, you're still in the game. And who knows, maybe one day we'll find a way to change the rules. The Zentaran sat in stunned silence, absorbing the weight of my words. I could almost see the gears turning in their mind, reevaluating every close call, every narrow escape. But that's monstrous, they finally managed to stammer out. I chittered softly, a sound somewhere between laughter and resignation. Monstrous? Perhaps. But it's also uniquely human. You have to understand their psychology to truly grasp the situation we're in. Leaning back in my chair, I steepled my upper appendages. Humans are predators at their core. They've evolved beyond the need to hunt for sustenance, but that primal drive remains. When they joined the Galactic Union, they found themselves in a society that had long since moved past such primitive urges. I paused, collecting my thoughts. But instead of suppressing these instincts, humans found a way to indulge them that skirts the edges of legality. Bounty hunting became their outlet, their way of scratching that ancient itch. The Zentaran's antennae twitched nervously. But surely not all humans. Of course not, I interrupted. But enough of them. The ones who become bounty hunters? They're the apex predators of their species. And we're their prey. I could see the hopelessness creeping into the Zentaran's posture. Time to drive the point home. Here's the real kicker, I continued, my voice low and intense. They don't want to catch us, not really. The capture is anticlimactic for them. It's the chase that gives them their thrill. So they let us run, let us think we're clever enough to evade them. They'll even let us rest, recover, start to feel safe. And then they strike again. The Zentaran's exoskeleton had paled to an almost translucent state. So what you're saying is, we're doomed. I shook my head slowly. Not doomed, trapped, caught in an endless cycle of flight and pursuit. I've been running for so long now, I sometimes wonder if I even remember how to stop. A moment of heavy silence fell between us. The ambient noise of the bar seemed to fade away as the Zentaran grappled with their new reality. You have a choice to make, I finally said, my voice gentler now. You can keep running, playing their game, always looking over your shoulder. Or the Zentaran prompted, a mix of fear and curiosity in their voice. Or you can stop. Turn yourself in. Face whatever justice awaits you. I spread my appendages in a gesture of uncertainty. Who knows? Maybe the punishment won't be as bad as the eternal chase. The Zentaran's eyes darted around the bar, as if expecting a human hunter to materialize at any moment. And you, what will you do? I stood up slowly, feeling the weight of countless years on the run in every joint. Me? I'm too old to change now. This chase, as twisted as it is, has become my life. In a way, I'm as caught up in it as the humans are. I placed a weathered appendage on the Zentaran's shoulder. Think carefully about your next move, friend. Because once you really start running, it's hard to stop. With that, I shuffled towards the exit, blending into the shadows as I'd done countless times before. As the door creaked open, I allowed myself one last glance at the Zentaran, still sitting shell-shocked at the table. Another runner joining the endless race, or the first to break the cycle. Only time would tell. After all, the humans would be expecting a good chase. And who was I to disappoint them? As I reached for the door handle, it suddenly swung open, nearly catching me off guard. I froze, my instincts screaming danger. A human stepped through the entrance, ducking slightly to fit their tall frame under the low doorway. The bar fell silent, conversations dying mid-sentence as all eyes turned to the newcomer. The human was clad in scuffed armor, a patchwork of different materials that spoke of countless battles and chases across the galaxy. Various weapons and devices hung from their belt, each one a promise of pain for their quarry. But what truly caught everyone's attention was what, or rather, who they were dragging behind them. An unconscious alien, Atraxian by the looks of it, was being pulled along the floor, bound by energy cuffs. The Traxian's usually vibrant scales were dull and scratched, testament to a long and difficult pursuit. The human's eyes, sharp and predatory, scanned the room. They lingered for a moment on the Zentaran, who seemed to be trying to melt into their seat. A knowing smirk played across the human's lips. Then those eyes found me, still frozen by the door. Recognition flashed in them, followed by something that made my blood run cold: anticipation. The human nodded at me, a gesture that was both acknowledgement and promise. Then, to my surprise, they chuckled. It was a sound that sent shivers down my spines, a laugh that spoke of the thrill of the hunt and the joy of the chase. Without a word, the human made their way to the bar, effortlessly maneuvering their unconscious prize through the tangle of tables and chairs. They slapped a handful of credit chips on the counter, far more than necessary for a simple drink. From my tab, the human said, their voice carrying clearly in the silent bar. And around for everyone else, it's been a good hunt. With that, they turned and headed back towards the exit. As they passed me, they leaned in close. I could smell the mix of sweat, ozone, and something uniquely human. "See you around, old-timer," they whispered, their breath hot on my auditory sensors. "Keep running. You know we both enjoy it." Then they were gone, the door swinging shut behind them, leaving nothing but a bar full of stunned aliens and the lingering scent of predator. I turned back to look at the Zentaran, whose eyes were wide with terror. The reality of our situation had just been made brutally clear. "Still think you want to keep running?" I asked, knowing the chase would continue regardless of their answer. "Because that's the game we play. That's the life we've chosen, or perhaps the life that's chosen us. In this vast, uncaring galaxy we run. And the humans, they hunt. Because they like it when we run." Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you loved it. Please remember to subscribe if you did like it so you can see more videos like this. And please give us a like and a comment too. I'll see you in the next one.